Hey guys, welcome to my Elementalist Double Dagger build video. I can't believe I haven't put this out yet because this is the build that I use pretty much all the time. I'm really stuck on my alley. I just love it. So I'm going to show you three aspects of the game, the PvE World vs. World and PvP, because I use basically the same build in all of them. But the PvP one, of course, we have to get an amulet and things like that, and I can show you that real fast. But I want to cover the PvE and World vs. World side of things first. Okay, so the first thing we want to look at is our traits. I have 10 in Air Magic. This is Zephyr's Boon. This is really important to the build. This is Auras grant Fury and Swiftness when applied. Now, if you don't know what an aura is, we have two auras in Double Dagger. We have number 3 Shocking Aura in Air, so we get the Fury and Swiftness, if you can see that down there. And we have in Water, we also have the Frost Aura. That'll give us Fury and Swiftness as well. This will, I'll show you why this is so important in the builds when we go through our attributes. In Water, we have a pretty basic cantrip style build. You'll see this a lot in other Elementalist builds. It's number 3, cantrips grant you regeneration and vigor. And we do have two cantrips. We have Mistform. I always bring Mistform, and then we have Armor of Earth. Sometimes I'll switch Armor of Earth with Lightning Flash. It just really depends on how I'm feeling that day, or there's like a different encounter that I might need Lightning Flash instead. Then we have number 9, Cantrip Mastery. Cantrips recharge 20% faster. And number 11, Cleansing Water. Remove a condition when granting regeneration to yourself or an ally. Now, some people might want to grab Powerful Aura, where auras are applied to nearby allies. So if we use Shocking Aura, it would also put the Shocking Aura on all of our allies, which also would grant them regeneration and swiftness. But I chose to have more of a self-preservation type build with Cleansing Water, so I'll be able to stand up in a fight for a long time, whether it's in a dungeon or World versus World or even in PvP, because I'm able to remove a lot of conditions on myself. So I really like this. I think it just secures my life, I guess you could say, so I can actually fight instead of being downed. So I'd rather have more self-preservation in a fight, so I can put out more damage and support than just giving the RS to my teammates. Okay, for Double Dagger Ellie's, we really need to switch through our attunements quickly. We need to use our spells really fast, so I'd say 20 or 30 in Arcana is pretty much required. So I have number 5, Elemental Attunement. So this is when we switch to an attunement, we gain a certain boon. So fire is might, water is regen, air is swiftness, and earth is protection. Now you might remember that cleansing water removes the condition when we grant regeneration. So whenever we switch to water, we'll also be removing a condition on us and everyone nearby. And it's number 3, gain arcane power at 75% health. And now this is extremely important to the build as well. I'll explain in a second. And number 11, create Evasive Arcana. So this is when you dodge, you create a spell depending on what attunement you're in. The ones I really love are Water, because it does this cleansing wave when you dodge. It does have a 10-second cooldown, so you can't just keep doing it, but cleansing wave heals for over 2,000. So yeah, so it's a big heal. So pretty much we have like 2 heals, because when we use our cleansing water and our cone of cold, so along with the regen, we could pretty much heal ourselves all the way back up before we even have to use our heal. Okay, so let's look at our attributes. You might notice my power is a tiny bit low because I am a DPS build. It is a little bit low, but I'll explain why. I sacrifice some attack power for healing power. So I have 763 healing power. That'll give me a lot more support for a team or for my allies, and it'll also help with my sustainability in fights. I'm okay with losing some damage to help my survivability. And here's the important thing that I'm going to talk about with the crit chance for an Elementalist is I only have 19%, which is pretty low. But what happens is since we have the Zephyr's boon that gives us, whenever we apply an aura, we gain Fury. Now our crit percent is at 39% for that short time. So we want to time our attacks when we have the auras on. And another thing is the arcane power. Which trait was it? Arcane Retribution, we gain arcane power at 75% health. This is also another important one because arcane power grants your next 5 attacks 100% critical chance. So we can stack power and we can stack just pure damage and forget about crit chance as much. Or we don't have to worry about that as much. So then we can time our burst attacks when we trigger arcane power. So trigger that right before you're going to do your burst attacks. And when we jump into PvP in the PvP area and I show you the amulet and stuff, I'll show you some just some ways to chain a few spells together to get some to maximize your burst basically on this build. All right, for the gear, for the armor, you really want Valkyries, which is power, vitality, and crit damage. Like I said, we don't really need to chase precision, so we can stack power and crit damage. So when we crit, we'll do a lot more damage. I do have 2 Flame Legion pieces of armor on, but that's just because I'm broke. So if you want to send me some gold, please do. But when I get Valkyrie stats, then I'll just replace it, and I'll have the vitality instead of the precision, which will help even more with my my sustainability in fights. And for my daggers, I have Berserker daggers, which will give me a little more precision. I probably won't change this, just because I don't think it's harming anything to have a little more precision. So with the sigils, I have Sigil of Battle. This is like 2 gold, I think, but it's a really important sigil for an Elementalist, especially Double Dagger Elementalist when you're swapping attunements a lot. You're not going to get it every time you swap attunements because it has a cooldown, but the 3 seconds it might do last 20 seconds. So you're going to be able to stack up quite a bit of might. So you might get it every other attunement you swap to. Now for the sigil, I have Sigil of Air, but you can actually go a few different ways. I might actually replace this with Sigil of Bloodlust later on. And you can also get the Sigil of Fire, which does the AoE Fire Blast or Flame Blast on chance on crit. Now for my accessories, this is where I get all my healing power. I go Clerics, and I get Power, Toughness, Healing Power. So healing power would be the main stat on Clerics, and this is where I'm getting all of my healing power basically. And I'm still getting good power, and I'm getting toughness instead of vitality, so I have a decent balance between toughness and vitality. It is a little bit low, so in a way I am kind of squishy. If I just stand there and let people hit me, then I probably won't last very long. But through all of my boons, my protection, and all my healing and things like that, I can stand up in a fight for a very long time. Okay, let's hop over to PvP, as I'm going to show you the amulet choices and things like that over there. I'll also give you some demonstrations on how to maximize your burst. Okay, we're in the PvP area, and I can show you what I got on my PvP gear. I have Runes of the Ogre, same thing as I have in the PvE, in my PvE build, which gives me more power, crit damage, and overall 4% more damage. It also gives me a 5% chance to summon a Rock Dog. The Rock Dog doesn't do too much, but it'll just add a little more DPS. Now, for the amulet, you want Valkyrie's amulet, which has, again, it stacks in power, then you get toughness and critical damage. So power and crit damage are the ones we're really after. And it gives us some more healing power. So I'm at 709 healing power. You can see my attributes are fairly similar to the PvE ones, maybe a little bit different just because you're not going to be able to get it exactly the same. But they're pretty close. And for the jewel, I went Cleric's Jewel so I could get more healing power. But if you feel like you can go without more healing power, you could get the Berserker's Jewel just to up your crit a little bit because my crit percent is a lot lower than it was in PvE. And for the sigils, I have Sigil of Battle and then the Sigil of Superior Bloodlust, which is probably what I'm going to switch out for the Sigil of Air in my PvE build. Okay, so let's just look at some ways we can maximize our burst, and I'll show you a very basic opening. There's about 6 or 7 skills involved, but this is what I usually like to do with the build, or sorry, when I'm first starting to attack. So I'll use Ride the Lightning because it'll close the gap right away. And then when I get to my target, I can use number 5, which is Updraft, and it'll knock him down. Then I can pop my Arcane Power, which will give me 100% crit chance, and this is where I'm going to get my big burst. I use my number 3, which is my Burning Speed, then my number 4, and then my Fire Grab, which is number 5. Now that's where I'm going to get a lot of burst. And since I did that, I want to show you a problem with the Elementalist burst is that it's somewhat the length between bursts can be quite long because, as you can see, the Fire Grab has a 45-second cooldown, in which, in my opinion, is too long. It needs to be. I just think it needs to be reduced a little bit. So I can do my burst again, my number 3 and 4, But unfortunately, I don't have my fire grab, which is my big burst, so I'm gonna have to wait 45 seconds to be able to use that skill again. So again, I like to use Ride the Lightning to close the gap, and then use Updraft, which will knock him down. So then you can switch to fire, and then use your burning speed, and then your fire grab and all that. And after you're done in fire, usually I like to switch to earth. And here's what happens when I use my number 4, my earthquake. Now that's a blast finisher, so I get might. So you can see I have 10 stacks of might. That's from switching attunements and from getting might through the blast finisher of earthquake. So make sure you're using earthquake and let's see here. Oh well, I guess I can't because anyway, if you can use churning earth, the thing about churning earth is it doesn't have to finish in your fire field. If you don't know, this is churning earth, your number 5, the really big one. To get the might from your fire fields, you don't have to finish in the fire fields, only as long as you start the attack while you're in your fire field. Oh, look at that guy die. All the conditions apply to him. So anyway, yeah, if you put down a fire field and then you start using your churning earth in it, once it finishes, it'll apply the might. It doesn't have to finish while the fire field's still up, because it won't. It's a much longer cast time than our fire field is. Then our fire field actually stays down. So just remember that you can stack more might with number 4 and number 5 in earth when you put your fire field down. That'll help out your damage as well. Now usually after I do that, it's about time to hop into water. They're gonna be attacking me. One of the big heals is number 5. That'll heal a lot. And then you want to use your number 3 and 4 for chill, and you also get the swiftness from number 4, which will help you out. But the chill will also it'll reduce their attacks and their cooldowns and things like that. And your number 2, what's great about it is not only does it heal you, but if there are allies around and you hit the allies, it'll heal your allies as well. So if there's allies around, make sure you're trying to hit them with that, which is basically just the front little AoE thing. And actually it does decent damage. You get about 2,000 damage out of it. Okay guys, if I didn't mention the heal, I'm using Signet of Restoration. It was nerfed a little bit, but I still like it. And I would say one thing is, if you feel like you can't be active enough to use it, you're not going to get the healing out of it, because if you look at the active, the healing is pretty low compared to other heals. So if you feel like you can't be as active, which it's okay. Some people just like staying in 1 attunement or 2 attunements. Then I would probably suggest getting a different heal. Just because the active heal is so small. And for my elite ability, I'm using Glyph of Elements. It's basically the only good elite ability that Elementalist has. So make sure, if you want extra healing, make sure you're in water, and if you want more damage, make sure you're in fire, basically. Alright guys, let me jump into some PvE and some World vs. World, and I want to show you a few things. Okay guys, I wanted to show you this clip because this is just a quick run through Twilight Arbor in explorable mode, and this is the spider boss when you choose the path to go up. Now there are just a few things I wanted you to pay attention to, then I'll stop talking and let you watch for a little while before we go to World vs. World. But basically what I want you to see is the burst damage I'm able to put out, while at the same time I'm also able to I'm kind of like soft tanking this guy, because I'm being focused down. I'm not being focused down, it's kind of switching between me and someone else. But I want you to see my survivability, even as a clothy with not too much defense. So pay attention to when I switch to water, like right now, and I'm throwing out my heals. And look at how much I heal for with my regen and all my heals, without even having to use a heal. So my heal is basically, if I don't have anything in water, my water's on cooldown, then I can use my heal. But you can see I'm at full HP, so I'm doing pretty well right now. So those are things, just pay attention to the damage I'm doing and my survivability as well. And then we'll go to World vs. World, and I want to talk about a few things over there. Okay, so I wanted to show you some world versus world footage for a reason. And you can see that I'm not actually using double dagger, I'm using staff, and there's a reason for that. In world versus world, dagger and dagger is great. It's awesome. For little skirmishes, like a 10v10 or 15 versus 15, it's amazing. But we have to be a little realistic when it comes to world versus world, and there's a lot of zergs and things like that. So there's a lot of times where you need to bust out your staff instead of your dagger. But the thing is, with our stats, the staff works just as well because we have all the healing and support for our teammates and ourselves, and we can also throw down some pretty good AoE damage. So I just wanted to bring this up that I do use staff sometimes in World versus World if there's just no if it's just not possible for me to run in with my double daggers. But I'll try to use my double daggers as much as I possibly can. Just when it's a big Zerg, then it gets a little harder to do that. So I'll pull out my staff. So if you're in World versus World, I'd carry a staff with you as well. Okay, guys, this has been Burnin from AddictGaming.com. Thank you for watching my double dagger Ellie build. If you have any comments or questions, make sure you leave them below in the comment section, and I'll get back to you.